Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Ammar, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to be joined by Carl J. Cox, a renowned business strategist, CPA, and CEO of 4D Strategy, a highly awarded strategic planning consultancy that empowers leaders to scale profitably and sustainably. Carl, welcome to Founders Future.
Hey, thank you so much. It's an honor to be on your show today.
I appreciate it. I'm excited to dive in. I always like to start from the beginning. So take me back to before you started 4D Strategy. What were you doing beforehand? And then what was really the motivation behind starting the company?
Thanks for asking. It's an interesting story because each founder has a different reason why we go into things, why we don't. Some want to be entrepreneurs their whole life, some kind of trip into things, some it's a 10-year plan to get there. In this particular circumstance, I'd come off of another opportunity where I had started the US office for an Australia strategic planning company called Cascade Strategy. And so I left at that point. So I'd already left the high paying job, started on taking way less money than I had and started out. And we had really good success at Cascade Strategy. And I thought I was going to be there for a really long period of time because we grew the US office from about 5% of the global revenues to about 50% of the global revenues in just 3 years. And so we were crushing it. It was a great experience. And we had this interesting thing that happened along the way. We were selling software for strategic planning. And we found out my big surprise was I didn't realize how bad people were at strategic planning and execution. It was almost epidemic. And so out of need, we started traveling around. Myself personally started traveling around the country, traveling down in the Caribbean, helping clients specifically to do a better job on designing plans and helping keeping them accountable to get it done. And I remember being down at an event down in Arizona, and literally a person said 2 hours of meeting. He said, "Carl, I would have paid you $10,000 just for that 2 hours alone."
Mm.
And I remember turning to the person I was with it. I think I'm in the wrong business. When somebody says something like that, I say, "Whoa, that I didn't expect that. I
What
didn't
do I do with my
realize."
life?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't realize that much value. And so that really planted a seed. And then a year later, literally, I was in the Sydney Harbor with Tom Wright, the CEO, a founder of Cascade Strategy. He's not the CEO right now, but he's founder. And he said, "Hey, Carl, why don't you create our global consulting company? You've obviously proven the US business works." And we're literally in Sydney Harbor in this sea kayak. Beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful there. And he's doing this offer to me on the water as we're in this kayak. And it's like, that's really interesting. What a cool idea to start this new company. But then I started to reflect as we talked about it multiple times. I have 4 kids, 3 of the 4 have played college sports. And I didn't want to miss that. I didn't want to miss those experiences. I didn't want to miss being a part of that. And so I ultimately declined the offer. And I said, I'm going to go off on my own. And so that's how it started. That was the whole process. Now, of course, there's more to the story, but
Yeah,
that's how
yeah.
it came about. It was out of this insight of I've learned this body of knowledge and I create a good opportunity, but I don't want to sacrifice the time with my family. And so that's why I
Mm.
ultimately ended up opening up 40 Strategy.
Yeah, I love that. Let's dive into 4D Strategy to give the listeners more context into what it looks like today. Start me off with who would you say is your ideal client? And then from there, we can dive into the different offers and services you provide.
Yeah, you bet. So at 40 Strategy, what we do is we provide, once again, strategic planning and help keeping organizations accountable to accelerate their companies. Who's our best type of clients? From startups, we actually work with all the way from startup, but generally we prefer to them to have about $400,000 in revenue.
Mm.
Why? They've figured out their product and service, meaning they've proven to the market that they have something that they can sell. And then we work with companies as large as 40 million. So that's our ideal customer base. We do work with larger companies. So we work with multiple in the 200 plus $1 million range. But our sweet spot is that, once again, what you call quote unquote startup up to about 40. And that's where, generally speaking, people don't have the resources to have a full senior team, right? They don't have a full senior executive staff to working on the company. And so what we do is we help come in, help these smaller companies use a Fortune 500 strategic plan at a small company level.
Mm,
And we give them the insights of what Fortune 500 companies use, because that's how I was trained. But I was trained in small companies how to get it. What I didn't mention beforehand, I've been with 7 different companies that gone from 2x to 7x in size. And so internally, so I've learned it really, and we've been, that's how we help our companies out. And so we teach this concept. And what we'll do from what is our range of services? We'll do the really basic, hey, let's do a really simple strategic plan or a quick 90-day plan of just helping to turn around a company, to a more detailed level where we're doing helping people understand their multiple of how to grow and create the exit value if they're thinking of selling a company down the road, to deep level week to week accountability to help make sure they're getting it done. So we have that kind of 3 sets of services, if you may, in an ascending order of how we can help clients out. And it's been amazing to see the
mm.
transformations when we're working with companies.
Yeah, that's powerful. So there's three different tiers of how you can work with your clients. Typically, how long is a client engagement? What does that look like?
Yeah, so generally speaking, even if we might create a longer term plan, a 3 to 5 year plan, a typical, if they use the smaller tier plan, we'll set up it's gonna a basic strategic plan for them. We'll meet with them like on a quarterly basis, for
Yeah.
example. But if they do our what we call our 40 plus plan, where people are more involved, we're actually meeting with them. As I said, we'll design that plan. That designing the plan, we'll typically do a 3 day strategic facilitation with them on site. So we'll travel wherever we need to help get that done. And then once again, we start meeting with them every single week. So we do these 4 10-week sprints, we call them. So 40, of course, we'll keep on applying the 40-week sprints, and we'll guide them along the way. One of the toughest things in strategic planning is there's this belief that we figured it out with the whiteboard. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Have you been a part of that? It's, oh, we've got it figured out. The reality is this is so much changes when you get in the weeds. When you
mm,
get back in the business, you start saying, hey, that's not going to work because something came up. What's awesome with meeting weekly, or some people it's biweekly, depending on what they sign up for,
yeah.
we can uncover those obstacles and help them design a way to get around them. And so they don't stop. They keep moving forward much faster. The data is really clear. When you have a rigorous program to help get things done, you have a 3 times greater likelihood of success. When you don't do these things, you have a less than a 10% chance of getting 2/3 of your objectives done. So it's very research based. We're not just doing this because we think it's cool and we could put good names around them. This is truly research based that you can look up at Harvard Business Review or
Yeah.
other publications. And we've proven this is how you get a strategic plan. This is how it works. And we had multiple ones just yesterday. And we'll, of course, do the follow up with the Zoom. So we're not going on site, of course, to companies throughout the country. And it's awesome to see their insights and just saying, thank you for helping us to adjust when we couldn't see what we couldn't see before. Once again, strategic planning is a hypothesis, it's not a fact. Understanding how to adjust, change, and go through, that's how we get better results.
Yeah, I like that. Let's shift a little bit to the back end of the business. When it comes to lead gen, when it comes to customer acquisition, how are you currently bringing on more clients to 40 strategy?
Great question. So one of the things we're really fortunate with, like a lot of, is we have really good results with our clients. And so as a result, because of that, we do have a strong referral list that we get. And that comes from many different sources, from just word of mouth to so that's one, what I call as referral is one thing. The other big thing that we have is for the past 5 years, we've been developing our marketing and branding and developing brand expertise that's
Mm,
there. And so when people do happen to come across our book, Lost a CEO and Entrepreneur's Guide to Strategy, or if they come across the Measure Success podcast, they can now take a look at all of our content out there, and they recognize we just didn't come up with this yesterday, right? This has been a lot of research, a lot of information that's out there. We've done over 200 podcast episodes, actually nearly 300 if you include our shorts. And we're continuously providing free information. I recognize, right? I can't meet everybody at all times. And so a big part of it is just, hey, you can execute. And if you want to do it on your own, go for it. Apply the knowledge and principles for free. We just know that most people, when they come back to the office, they get busy being back in their business, and
Mm,
they stop working on the things they were excited about. And we just provide that extra sense of confidence to help get them across the part. So once again, answering the two things come from one is referral, two is from our marketing that we do that helps bring in leads from that aspect around it. And then the third major thing we do is speaking.
got
So
it.
when we get an opportunity to speak in front of crowds, and whether it's a keynote speech or whether it's a breakout session, we have a we create trust in those meetings. And as a result of that trust that we create, people are more willing to help sign up with us. And then the fourth thing that we have is we actually also have a CPA firm, so 40 Accounting. So that's a separate company. They're sister companies, so to speak, but they're truly separate entities.
Got it.
And the CPA firm has been great because accounting there's a massive shortage in the US, and nearly, if I heard the data correctly, over 70% of CPAs are at retirement age. People retiring, they're leaving the industry, and there's not qualified people who not only do their tax returns, but help them think strategically on how to
Mhm.
actually reduce their taxes, extract value. We do with 40 Accounting, we do basic bookkeeping, we do financial reporting and analysis, we do budgeting for them, and then we'll do tax returns as well. And the combination of those things, whether one person chooses one of those or all of those different areas, it's given us more leads, interestingly enough,
Yeah.
because they're like, hey, you're helping out with our accounting work. We see you do the strategy stuff. Can you help us out with that as well? And so the combination of that has really helped accelerate the amount of clients that are coming to us.
Got it. Yeah. So you've got the referrals, you've got the speaking, you've also got the CPA firm that will funnel in some leads. What does the marketing actually specifically look like? Are you running ads? Are you running organic? What is the get a little bit more practical and tactical?
Yeah, we'll talk about it. So there's only been a very short period of our life that we ever ran ads. And actually, that wasn't even for payment. That was because we were trying to excel our YouTube subscribers. And it was a short event that we went through there. But no, we've been a big believer in content's king. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this regularly, where we agree with him. So a small little example, Mara, is that if somebody perhaps is looking at this podcast, they might think I'm the Carl Cox DJ. So if you Google Carl Cox, just Carl Cox alone, you'll see the most famous DJ, one of the arguably most famous DJs from England. Him and I look nothing alike, but he owns the SEO for Carl Cox. That's one of the reasons why I use Carl J. Cox, by the way. Very intentional, because I recognized I wouldn't be found in that. Now, though, so Google, that's how Google is. On ChatGPT, you look up Carl Cox, it'll come up with two people, DJ Carl Cox and Carl J. Cox, who I am. That's because of all the content we've created. That's the difference between Google and the future where people are searching. So what from a content perspective, just give an idea. So we first of all, we post on all of the major engines. So we try to be, meaning what do I mean by that? We're putting information on LinkedIn, our website, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, sorry, naming X, right? We put it on all those major social engines, and we're very consistent. So we're regularly putting out content almost daily. We have information go out there, sometimes even more than daily. We have a podcast coming out every Tuesday. We're getting ready to do a new 40 tax tips that will be coming out every Tuesday and Thursday. We have the book that I've already mentioned beforehand, right? So when you add in all of those pieces of content, it's really powerful. And what we've done recently is we realize we have so much content because of all of the podcasts that we've done, that we can now take little snippets, 7 seconds, 10 seconds, sometimes a little bit more, and just use that. And we're starting to get, I want to be careful calling it viral, but we're getting much stronger response rates on just organic existing content that we already have. So it's been a multi
Yeah, yeah.
approach, not just been one thing.
For sure. And it sounds like you've been building that out over the last 5 years. I'm curious if you've thought about this because I've had a lot of people come on and do this, but then also clients of ours that have had a lot of success with this, is coupling the organic strategy with some sort of paid ads campaign that is designed to get customers, not designed to get more subscribers. Is that something that you've thought about before? Walk me through that.
Yeah, so what's interesting is we're ready for that now. And part of our growth plan at 40 Strategies, we're starting a workshop, the 40 Strategy Growth Workshop. We're going to have our first one beginning here in August. Sorry, I said this wrong. November 3rd and 4th in Phoenix, at the
Cool.
Tapatio Hills Cliff Resorts. I'm super excited about what we're doing. We have an amazing list of experts. We're going to have one-on-one meetings and so once again, playing on our name, only 40 business owners can come to this event.
Mm,
So we're going to have 10 experts, a 4-to-1 ratio from expert to business owners.
yeah,
And so for this one, if we don't sell this out with our organic stuff, if that makes sense, through what we're doing, this will be actually one of the first time we're going to be using specifically the ads to drive people to the workshop. And so, yeah, we'll be heading down that path. And so, because now we have, honestly, our core business is such a trust business. People don't sign up without multiple meetings. They're not just going to sign up to do a facilitation. They want to have a discussion. They want to gain trust. They want to go through that. But a workshop is a workshop. And somebody could sign up without watching us for the past 3 years. All that data is already out there if they want to validate who we are. So, yes, that is something. As a matter of fact, within a month, we'll be launching ads, if you may, for the first time. And that's a really new thing from us. And I'm sure we'll have some learnings along the way to help make it great. But so, yeah, so we are definitely planning that in the future. And by the way, because it's not just the first workshop, we're getting to a point within 3 years, we'll have 10 workshops a year. So
nice.
it's a significant part of our future business.
Awesome. When it comes to the sales process, what do you currently do, or what does the sales process look like to take somebody who is just a lead into a client, and then are you the one on those calls, or do you have a sales team?
Great question. We do have sales team members, one person in particular, because we're still a relatively small company. And so what we do is once we get a lead or an opportunity, yeah, I'm at a point where I've been this way for a while. Where, frankly, I don't have enough time to meet with all the leads that we get. And so we have one of our business development people that they will meet with them, gain the initial information. We're trying to understand what they want, right? First of all. So we go through a very thorough process of understanding what they're looking for. And then we have a very dialed in presentation where after we've heard their needs, we help provide them how some of our solutions can potentially help them out.
Got it.
And then we have a scheduled follow-up meeting with them as well on that opportunity as well. So we go through a very consistent and we have a very high close rate. So if we can get people to become a lead because of our process that we have, and you've gone through a lot of iterations over the years of help dialing it in, we have a pretty good, strong close rate, which is exciting because nobody wants to be in a bunch of calls where you're not
Yeah,
getting the leads.
for
So it's been really helpful.
And that's part of the benefit of organic is it's just a much higher percentage close rate simply because they've been nurtured. And I'm sure you've seen the Google study of on average it takes 7 hours to turn a stranger into a client and 7 hours of them watch absorbing some of your content. So having that out there is absolutely critical. I'm curious when it comes to your goals and your vision and really where you want to take the company. Where do you want to be in 12 months' time? What's the revenue target, performance targets? What are you really aiming towards?
Yeah, I'm not going to give out revenue information just for our own privacy type things, but I will give you an idea of what we're trying to do in the big picture. So from a vision perspective, this has been a part of our 10-year vision. We're in the 6th year of it, is we want to help give $1 million to charity. And so we're giving a percentage of basically our revenues and our bottom line to help meet that accomplishment. So that's one of our big goals. The other big goal is we want to impact 10,000 organizations over this 10-year period. And the reality is a lot of that's going to happen over this next 4 years. So it's
Mm,
going to be a combination of these in person. So we want to directly in person meet with at least 1,000 business owners. And that's where the workshops are going to help us get towards. And then we want to impact through our other means, the other 9,000. Okay. So in the future, we're going to have other type of things that people can purchase, but we're really focusing on the in person because we recognize what a difference it makes when it helps with the buy-in. And there's nothing wrong with people selling courses, but the reality is most people who do a course, they don't do it. Right. And so what we want is results with our clients. And so that's how we help move towards that direction. So yeah, we have a very audacious plan on us helping to grow and to continue to build a difference. And we've been very fortunate to be growing successfully. And our combined businesses that we have is going to continue that acceleration in the future. So we've got really great momentum so far. And I'm excited about our 10-year. And I'm not done at 10, if that makes sense. That's just, in
Of
my
course.
opinion, it's the beginning of heading towards our next. Matter of fact, this afternoon, actually, we're going to have a strategic planning session on our 40 accounting firm of the direction we're going to go. And we plan to triple that business over the next 12 months. And it's, yes, how do I say this? I don't know how not to grow. It's really in my DNA. I've only been a part of companies that have grown significantly. And it's fun. It's super fun when you can help a greater impact and help other people get what they want to make a difference.
I love it. What do you feel like is, with that in mind, with those visions in mind, what do you feel like is the biggest challenge to scaling faster, growing further? What do you think you're facing right now?
I don't think interestingly enough, I don't think it's a technology side, which what we adopt AI pretty well, and we're continuing to move forward with that going forward. It's people. We
Mm.
like to say it's people, process, and systems. And just like I mentioned, I can't be on every sales call in the future. We need to have dedicated salespeople. We need to have in the future where people can completely manage the workshop attendee lists and manage that flow and manage the speaker relationships that they're having with people. We're hiring more CPAs. I'm literally interviewed somebody yesterday to help make sure we could support our accounting business. We're doing things differently, though, just of note. We're not doing the traditional path. We're utilizing, of course, onshore people here. We're utilizing offshore resources. We have contractors that we work with. We use AI regularly to help us accelerate our ability to help out our clients. And so we're doing what we can to stay. I don't think you can ever be ahead of AI ever. I think it's silly and anybody thinks they're like ahead of it. But we want to stay in the rising tide of the changes that are taking place because I do believe ultimately companies who don't change and adapt are at significant risk of not being relevant in the next 5 years.
Mm. Yeah, completely agree. And I couldn't agree more with the people, process, and systems. What do you think is the next role that you're looking to fill? You mentioned sales, you mentioned CPAs, you mentioned a couple other things. What do you think is the next thing?
Yeah, literally number one CPA. That's our first hire that we plan to go
Cool.
through. I'm pretty fortunate. I have an operations lead on the 40 strategy side, so that's doing pretty well. What I could envision is this work. We're probably about a year away, but having this workshop coordinator, we get to a point running 10 a year. That's going to be a lot of work, right? And so just literally coordinating all the events and parts around that will be most likely our next key hire. And then if we need to continue having a dedicated sales team, because we will ultimately need to continue to manage those leads that are coming in and to help book people to go to the events. Because one thing is booking 40 people for an event, but doing 10
400.
events and getting 400 individual people going out there, that's a lot of sales activity, right? To get those results.
100%. What is the best way for people to reach out to you, to work with you, and to also eventually sign up for the workshops?
Great question. So the easiest thing is go to our website, 40strategy.com. That's once again, that's 40strategy.com. You could also find us on all of the major websites. You could go on LinkedIn under Carl J. Cox. You can, let's see other things. We're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on these other major platforms that are out there. But our primary core data you're going to find is on our website. And I also encourage you to do a Measure Success podcast if you want to start getting understanding a feel of what we talk about with our guests. We do
Sorry,
that
say
comes
that
out
one
every
more
Tuesday.
time. What's the name
Yeah,
of the
the
podcast?
Measure Success podcast.
Measure Success Podcast. Perfect.
Yeah, so we were recently ranked the number four, the fourth best strategic planning podcast. So that was pretty cool. We're excited about that award. That was unexpected. That was
Yeah,
really cool.
awesome. I love it. Carl, thank you so much for your time.
You bet. Thank you.
Anytime. So that wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go to 40strategy.com. That's 40strategy.com to connect with Carl. You can also listen to the Measure Success podcast to learn more about their insights on strategic planning. Measure Success podcast. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or an agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to jump on a call with our team and discover how we were able to go from zero to $30 million in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on climbing.